The peace of
Yes, Mark, that is
imagine,
so good.
imagine if our cities were full of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who were highly skilled in their life, who had embraced the work of the Prince of Peace, who had embraced that dividing between soul and spirit, and how had pursued the righteousness of God, such that they knew what the peace of God was to their own souls. And then when they began to speak, they were able to manifest that righteousness. Suddenly, the people who are justifying burning the cities, the people who are justifying hatred, the people who are justifying, brutality, whether it's policemen amongst themselves justifying brutality, or these people in the street that are lawless and are seeking, to destroy our nations. The peace of God would be a weight that would just say, no, no, not here. You're not going to let that get out of hand here. In
I like how you talked about earlier, Mark, with your first encounter with this peace of God. It was like you realized that there was something in the atmosphere fueling the people.
yeah,
And so I really like that you do the place to the people. You minister the kingdom of God, the presence of God, the peace of God. And it's brilliant. And because it's God's idea. But for you to have that heart is, to do that makes a world of difference, I believe, in the ministry.
yeah,
On that note, Mark, and with all of this in mind, I believe there's people on here that are called to be peacemakers. That guys, you're listening to this and you're like, you know what, I'm called to be a peacemaker. I'm going to be a peacemaker, but I want to walk in this kingdom. I want to walk in this peace. Mark, can you pray for? And I think we just have enough time, maybe just to pray for just a minute. And pray for this manifestation of the peace of God, that weightiness, like you're just talking about. I just feel the love of God. I feel the peace of God right here, Mark.
Amen.
We're all.
It was the anniversary of the 70th year of the United Nations. And the Spirit of God said to him, he said that the nations have had 70 years to create peace. Now watch my United Nations begin to come forth. We are ambassadors of peace. God is in the midst of creating children of peace, sons of God that are peacemakers. The earth is about to experience the manifestation of the sons of peace. So I declare right today that this is
preoccupying you so that you can engage with us here and really kind of focus in on what's happening. And if you're engaged with us on our Facebook page, you can interact and ask questions. But just to kind of take that moment to bring you into the present moment and say, okay, this is where I am right now. So I'm going to ask everybody out there who's with us, please take a moment. We're going to start with a little breathing. So I just want you to take a second and become aware of your body. Just get yourself situated wherever you are. And just be aware of how your body feels right now, this moment. It may be, a little tension here or there, maybe in the shoulders, maybe in the low back. Maybe the jaw feels tense. Maybe the hips are a little tight. Maybe it all feels really good. Just feel your way into that for yourself. And what we're going to do is we're going to use some breath, and we're going to use breath because breath is the physical representation for me of energy. Breath is energy. Breath is chi. Breath is prana. Breath is life. So we want to use that breath to help stimulate new energy in our bodies, dissipate stale energy that's hanging out, and kind of that's what brings us to now. All that stale energy are those focuses in different places. And this will help to, again, calm and soothe the nervous system, bring us all present. So now that you've taken a moment with your body, let's take a moment with your breath. And if you want to close your eyes for a second, we're going to inhale to a count of 4 and exhale to a count of 6. And the reason we're doing the exhale to a count of 6 is to really purge and lose the air in the lowest part of the lungs. Get that air all pushed out. So when you take in that new air, your filling is full to capacity with new energy, new air, and new vibrancy. So here we go. We're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for just a second. And then release it all out. Out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And continue that pace on your own. Inhaling. 4, hold at the top, and then release. 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, inhale. Hold it and release. One more time. And release. And now feel your body. Be aware of your presence in your body. And on the last breath, as you inhale, I am love. Just inhale it and repeat it. I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. And when you let that breath go, bring yourself present and open your eyes. Excellent job, y'all. Bring yourself present when you're ready. And here we go. So just as a precursor, Deb and I were chatting a few minutes before the show, and I was like, a little transparency, because I never quite know what energies are going to show up for me. And as we were chatting about world events, I found myself getting rather intense, which is unlike me normally about that topic, because I'm just, largely observing it. And I kind of reached a level of frustration yesterday. And Deb really brought the point home, which is that we are all at choice. And I was having response and reaction to people who were making choices that I didn't think were useful. Let's put it that way. So interestingly, that in talking about that, I recognize the judgment. I recognize, and as a result of that judgment, I'm having a reaction instead of responding. And so that started yesterday, and I had nowhere, and I hadn't really talked about it. And isn't it interesting that a day later, when I talk about it, the intensity is still in my field. And what Deb and I got to do, what Deb got to listen to, was a crazy man for 30 seconds, just going off about how frustrating it was. And so this thing about wellness, this thing about the importance of wellness, is really extraordinary, because I just observed myself in an unwell state as a result of a choice I made yesterday. So I have been in some form of unwellness since yesterday. That bothers me. But the observation of it, and my deep appreciation to Deb for listening and giving me the space to bounce that, because what I got to see was, holy crap, this is serious business here. Personally, I mean, it's serious business in some regard, but we got to stay the light. We got to find the lightness. So, diving into wellness, go ahead, Deb, please.
Well, I was just going to say, I think I loved the way that you just ended that breathing and focus, which is I am love, I am love, I am love. And if we can just personify that more often, then we're not going to judge, and we're not going to get wound up, and we're not going to take on people's stuff as our own. What I said to you before we started was, I really feel like right now, this is the time for everyone to be individually, personally responsible. And really, it's none of your business what anyone else is doing. I mean, if we can try to care but not care, do you know what I mean? Care for humanity, care for others, but not care if it's not in alignment with what we think they should be doing. That's where that contrast comes in, and it doesn't get us anywhere. We're all different. We're all in different places to start with. We're being then thrown into this global event, and we're all dealing with it differently, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. They're just dealing with it in their unique individual way. And we have to be able to love that. We have to be able to respect and love everyone for where they are at, and not get angry and head up if it's not in alignment with where we are, because that's only going to put us into that state of disease, and it's not needed. We should just be personally responsible for maintaining our state, or seeking the state we wish to be in, which for me, I don't want to be angry every day. So,
amen to that.
yeah. So
That
good
was
one. And
awesome.
it starts with awareness, which is what you've just done. You were aware of how you were reacting and how it was feeling in your body. And with my response to that, you realized that I felt differently. And then you were able to question your own view on it and the reason you were feeling that way. And that automatically opens you up to just to be able to let go, right?
Yep. Yep. And the only other piece I want to add to this, just for the listener, is that the important part of this to me, I mean, it's all important, but the most important thing to recognize is that between yesterday and getting on this conversation with Deb, I was not necessarily conscious that was going on in my field, that I had generated that little ball of angst. So that's another important piece. I adopted it somewhere, and then I set it off in the side in my energy somewhere, because obviously it wasn't where I wanted to be. But somehow, and that's more of I will continue the contemplation of that, because I want to see how that unfolded in my experience. How did I go a full day with that clump of energy there, with all that agitation, without being aware that it was there? And so I think part of me was aware of it, part of me was denying it, part of me was not paying attention to it. But if you're going to engage, even a little bit, I engage to the news. I want to see what's going on. I want to still be in awareness, but it doesn't change that by doing that, I'm being inundated with all of that energy. And it's my responsibility to protect myself, or to disengage myself, or whatever I have to do to not walk away from that experience with clumps of energy stuck to me. So again, powerful observation. And I love what you said about it's what other people are doing are really none of my business. Just as much as
and
go ahead.
Sorry, carry on.
No, you're good. Go. You're good.
I was going to say, letting that energy move through us is so important, right? I had a moment yesterday as well. I was talking to my sister, who I hadn't really connected with for a couple of months, and I was aware that she and I have different opinions about everything that's going on right now. And I felt this need that I need to be able to tell her where I'm at. But, there was a sort of a fear around that, I guess. And anyway, during the discussion, I expressed how I felt by reiterating a dream that I had, which was pretty intense. And as I was reiterating this dream, this well of just emotion just came up, like I was being sick, like I was throwing up. It just came up and out of nowhere, and a huge release. And that was just, I didn't know that was sitting there. I didn't know that was going to happen. And we've all obviously experienced this, but I think it's so important to be able to allow ourselves that energy to move, and know that there's always bundles of it somewhere, and it needs to come out in every which way it's going to do. And to let that process happen.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all
Absolutely.
going through such intense times, aren't we?
It's amazing.
So intense.
So intense. So let's dive into this wellness model. This is a great way to start this conversation, because this is the basis of wellness. This is the basis of what we're trying to look at here, which is what is this? So this model, I'm going to put a picture up on the screen here for you to see. So this model that I created after I take that off.
Can I just correct you that you're creating?
Creating, yes, it isn't quite finished yet.
And it's kind of being co-created as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I have deep respect for your process in this. I don't know many people who would co-create a ideology, if you like, or a methodology, or in public, live,
why not,
on the fly. And be, it's a beautiful, beautiful process. And I just want to say huge kudos to you, Jim, because I really feel this is something that is needed in the world right now, that we need to be able to move, not only past all of our differences and everything that's happening, but we need to start getting into a place where we can co-create together, and to be able to listen to different perspectives and find an alignment, because we all should be able to, and can and do, agree on things at some point. We all can meet in the middle of some point. We did it just before we jumped on here.
We
didn't
did. It
we
was
came
amazing.
and met in the middle. There was, yeah, it was amazing. And it happened in a minute. It happened like that. And imagine if we could be doing that with more and more and more people involved.
Yes.
You know, I was thinking about it before we jumped on, actually. I was thinking, wouldn't it be great that we could get more back and forward engagement from the people who tune into this, you know, and getting more of that collective, thought.
And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing with Wake Up Warriors too, is created that space for these conversations to take place, right?
Yeah, and more importantly, we've discovered an amazing tool that we are that a few of us are working with, which is exactly that as well. It's about collectively creating a concept or a concept, you know, or an action or something that we all agree on. And it starts with us all finding out what do we all agree on, and then discussing a certain topic and coming to letting that topic evolve to a point where everyone lands on something that just feels right. It sums up what the collective have all led to and agreed on in a topic, and it's pretty powerful. So
That's
what
awesome.
you're doing here is similar on a smaller scale with you know, less people involved. But wouldn't it be great if, you know, if we could expand that and get more and more minds involved in the process? Imagine what we could create, you know.
Amazing things, and I think that's actually what we're doing. We're in process. We're in process.
And again, if we take it back to that individual thing, if everyone's individually responsible for what they're doing, what they're creating, what they're bringing to every interaction, every issue, every topic that's coming across our path at the moment, taking personal responsibility for how they're interacting with that. But, you know, there's a lot of pockets of people doing what we're doing right now, which is really, really fascinating if you start thinking about it on a global scale, how much creativity is happening right now. The creativity is coming out of the chaos. That's pretty crazy.
It also strikes me, and then we'll come back to here, but I was having an experience yesterday. Actually, I was responding to something somebody had posted, and it was what I was seeing and what I was talking about was that it feels like in real time we're getting to experience alternate realities and dimensions unfolding in front of us, and it's happening in real time. So this idea of people being across the divide in communication, it's not a divide, it's a separation of realities. It's people choosing the course of their energy, and we're watching it happen. I don't know where it's going to evolve because I've never seen this before. I've never experienced this before. But the fascinating experience of I'm actually looking at alternate realities occurring in real time, and that's just kind of mind-blowing to me. I don't know what it really means other than, and I think it speaks to what we were saying. One, it's about, you know, the show I did on Wednesday was entitled "It's About Me." Yeah, it's about us. It's about each individual making choices and aligning your field to those choices, and that what happens as a result of that is your reality begins to unfold around you. And that unfoldment is happening for each individual, but because of the mass consciousness divisions that are going on, that it's like chunks of mass consciousness being pulled into different directions, along with the people who believe and think in that way, who are unwilling, or maybe that doesn't have to do with willingness. Maybe it just has to do with that's where their vibration resonates for them. That's where their alignment resonates for them. So that reality is unfolding for them beautifully, as our reality is unfolding for us beautifully, as other people's reality is unfolding. And that's why it's so important to stay out of judgment, and why it's so important to just allow. When I say allow, I mean, it's really tough not to want to get out there and beat people up and scream and yell about what you think they're doing that doesn't serve, and how it may not be helping, and how blah, 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 blah. And in the end, that all happens in our heads, but we're only fighting with ourselves. We're only fighting with our individual selves, trying to come to terms with where is my vibration and where do I want my vibration to be. And you got to disconnect from all of it, guys, really, truly, to come to a clarity about that. Because if you're using the information from outside of yourself to inform you, you're creating a reality you're not going to want, because it's not integrated to you. It's not adjusted or created by you in consciousness. It's created by default. It's created by, it ends up being created not accidentally, but unconsciously. And that's a really challenging place to be, because that's what we're trying to undo. That's what, personally, my mission in the world, my purpose, my book, this podcast, my programs are all about that same thing. This idea of taking responsibility so that you're not you're not living in an unconscious reality that you don't understand how it got here. This is, let's get conscious of our reality and then make our choices. And all we can do is influence. All we can do is influence. So what do? We influence by example. They talk about one person who is in alignment is more powerful than a million that aren't, because of the connection, because of the alignment. So that's my mission for me, is I want to be in that place as much as I can, setting an energetic example and sharing that energy, because that's the influence I want to have on people and have that reach their hearts. And I'm hoping, when I do my medicine Buddha stuff, or I do my Madhavradna stuff, I'm thinking in terms of my energetic field, my heart reaching and touching yours, and that touch igniting a fire within your own soul, and hopefully you being able to integrate that to have it spark transformation in your own experience. It will or it won't, but that's your choice. That's the choice of all of us. I'm not going to beat anybody over the head with it. I'm not going to go to the place of calling people wrong and bad, because they're not. They're making choices. And while I don't agree with them and they may not be my choices, what I can do is send loving kindness. What I can do is send love to that situation, not in an effort to change them, in an effort to influence the energy. And maybe it'll change, maybe it won't. That's all I can do.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful reminder, Jim. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Because I think we're all dealing with haters and people who are, who are coming up and butting heads with us at the moment, whether in everyday conversations within our own family units, even, or on social media. But everyone's experiencing it. And there's a lot of people who aren't tempering or censoring what they're saying at all. It can be pretty cutting. And to be able to do what you're saying, send them back love and cut that energy, try and bring some, what were the words you used? Bring some influence. Almost steadiness to that energy. Influence.
Just some influence that here's some, I'm gonna serve you some love on a beautiful gold platter, and you can choose to take that and have it stimulate you, or you can just leave it there. Just by leaving it there, it still has influence. The cool thing is that when you integrate it, then it has the chance to become your energy. So, so looking at this model, some foundational information about this. So this model, this new idea of wellness is based on activity levels. And what I mean by that is that we designed this based on the things we do the most in our experience. So at the basis of this, and the model that you're looking at here is the model of the positive model, as it were, because this model has a positive and negative, as all do. They're polarities. There's one end of the stick and there's the other end of the stick. So with regard to wellness, we start with the breath or breathing. This is the thing that we do the most. It is the thing that happens the most times a day. I don't have all those numbers, but so breathing is that first thing. So this lays the foundation. And why is that important? Well, it's important because if breath is the thing we do the most of, it must have significance. And what could that significance be? Well, if we go into more Eastern philosophies and some Western, but largely Eastern, you find that breath is the core of everything. Breath is life. Breath is prana. Breath is chi. Breath is any number of words that you can use that talk about life-giving force. So as a human, in the time-space reality that we live in, what's required is breath. What's required is that We take breath in order to provide energy to the system, provide energy for all of the systems within the body to function at the highest possible levels. It gives energy to the physical body so that that ego, so that that physical consciousness can do its job while we're doing what we're doing here, exploring and learning about this environment. So using breath as the foundation, and the breath then carries into when you are able to manage your breath, when you are conscious of using your breath, it begins to influence the mind. The mind is a powerful, powerful receiver and a powerful projector. And when we are not aligned with breath, when we are not aligned with the truest aspects of ourself, the mind goes wonky. The mind goes in other directions of control. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. And we get into hows, and we get into willpower, and we get into a lot of things that really don't serve the process as much as we may think they do. So mind, we said, was second. That's the thing that, again, it's always there, it's always on, it's always a part of our experience. And I've made some adjustments because I had some other words in here earlier, and then as I was building this and looking at the differences, I went, oh, I really need to shift this a little bit more. So the next level was the integrating or rejuvenating, which is really about sleep. That's about rest and sleep. But I wanted to choose the words integrating and rejuvenating because that sleep, when you're using your breath, when your mind is quiet, that is the time of integration and rejuvenation. That is the time of finding our greatest self, our greatest alignment. So when we go to sleep, we are resetting. We're giving our body and our energy a chance to relax, giving our body and energy a chance to soothe, to take in all of the wonderful experiences or information or not so wonderful information that was going on throughout the course of our day, and allows it to move through us. So we process it in, process it out. If we've been using the breath, and the breath is the foundation of our experience, our mind is quiet, and our sleep is restful, that process all happens under the covers, as it were. It happens as a natural course of events, and many things can be resolved that way without having to wrestle them to the ground. We're so used to, in the metaphysical world, you got to get your crap, you got to get that shadow, and you got to beat it to the ground, and you got to make it and I posit that in the wellness model, that if you're using breath, the mind is within the confine of the breath, or it's being used within the breath. You're getting that rejuvenative sleep. You're processing already. You're already discarding and incorporating and realigning while you're in that space. So that's sort of the foundational spots. And I'll stop, so Jeb, if you want to jump in and
No, you keep going.
Okay.
You keep going.
So
Yeah.
So we've had this wonderful sleep, we've had these rejuvenate, we have energy, we have focus, we have alignment. So we come out of this rested state into the state of creating. This is much different than this is not the doing phase. This is a creating phase. There is no doing phase in this wellness model, and there's a reason for that. So in the negative version of this model, this would be the working, right? Yes, this would be the working phase.
Yeah, that's how we arrive to creating, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the creating phase then is, I am in a space of total alignment. I am in a space of clarity. I know what I desire. I know what I want to create. I'm allowing my mind to wrap around that, and I'm using all the tools in my tool chest. I'm appreciating. I'm focused. I've allowed this desire to integrate within me, and now I'm creating. So what does that mean? In my conscious world, I have my daily practice, and that daily practice is about honing my energy to the desire, honing my energy to focus in that connection, and the creation begins. And that creation is the be, do, have cycle. It's, I've created beingness in the breath. I've created the ability to just be. And then out of that beingness, my mind, my connection creates the doingness, which is the inspired action that occurs out of beingness. When you are being with your desire, being with your creation, out of beingness, you are inspired by it. The inspiration sets up a whole construct of, here, focus over here for a little while, focus over here for a little while. You feel inspired to action. It's not I have a to-do list. It's I have things that I see that are going to positively impact. And bear in mind, these things don't have to be gargantuan. And I'm going to step back here and use an example. So I have 2 projects going on. I'm in the process of a brand redo because of the changes that's happened with the podcast. And I'm in the process of 3 months out from the publishing of my book. So there's a lot of work going on there. And yesterday, I was spinning.
Can we switch back to seeing you, Jim?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yesterday I was spinning throughout the morning and trying to keep track of all these things that I knew I wanted to do. And I stopped, Jim, what are you doing? Just write it down. And so I took out a small piece of paper. Where is it? Here. This is my small piece of paper. I didn't do anything. I didn't call it anything. I didn't name it. I just wrote things. I just wrote this thing, this thing, this thing, and this thing. It took it out of here and put it here, which is another form of compartmentalization, but it's a good form. I didn't give it any, this is more important than that. I didn't give it any, this first, this second, this third. I didn't do that. I just took the thought out of my head and put it on paper and put it on paper and put it on paper. And within 15 minutes of that process, I was quiet, meaning from top to bottom, I was quiet. I didn't hear any more noise. My mind wasn't constantly trying to remind me because I now had it down. So what I did in doing that is I created space in my own field for all of these things to arrange in whatever form was necessary so that when I got up this morning, I did my breathing and meditation and I sat and I said, what's first? And then I just spent almost 5 hours working on things as they came to me, all part of the things that I had on my list, but I didn't refer to the list. I just said, okay, what are the things that are going to be I really want to get this brand thing handled. That's what feels most imminent right now. So I spent the morning and got it all done. I got the website updated. I got YouTube updated. I got Facebook updated. I got all the pictures changed out. I got everything is shifted. And the rest of the stuff is right. So and then I came back to my list and I went, oh, cool. That's done. That's done. That's done. That's done. And that's done. What's left? Oh, all the stuff that's left is book stuff. And I don't have to kill myself to get the book stuff done. I know I want to work on it, but that'll be my tomorrow project because this was about getting all this brand stuff handled and just feeling a sense of myself back in this again, in this new energy. And it has been, I was just telling Michael before I got on the thing, how extraordinary it feels that as I was getting ready for our show, I'm looking at Facebook and I'm looking at YouTube and I'm looking at these things as I'm getting set up and they all reflect me. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had this experience of this before because it was always mine with and I think that even in my own mind, I didn't see me in it as much as all of a sudden I'm like, it's, and I don't mean me like, look at how important I am. I mean, this is me. It's reflecting me like the way I want it to. I got to put up, to put up a whole section on my website for my book, which is something I've been envisioning for months. And it's there, and I'm like, I'm goosebumps just talking about it. So
it's beautiful, Jim.
It's just
really
spectacular to me. So I'm going to flip back to the page.
What was springing to mind when you were telling me about your list was it's like that list with no categories. It was like you were detoxing your mind, like a little detox, right? So like you detoxed with your breath, right? And we did the counts 4 in, but 6 out to really squeeze out the dead air, the last of it, so that we could fill it with new. With the mind, all that clutter, it's a detoxing of the mind. And perhaps if you had the opportunity yesterday, maybe before you went to bed, to detox some of the feelings or things that had come up that day, they might not have come out, woken up with the same shit there, right? So your list was a detox of your mind and all that stuff I've got to do, but then we need to like detox our feelings as well, right? That could be, anyway, maybe detox isn't the right word, but some sort of a purging. Hey, that came up before, the purging, like my little emotional yesterday. it's maybe it's a purge. We're purging the lust of the breath, purging the clutter in our mind and getting that off, purging the day's feelings, like trying to come to some resolve with them, or at least some acceptance of them, so that when we go into our sleep and our restorative, what are your words again? Integration and
rejuvenation.
you know, then at least we're doing that without a cluttered emotional field as well, and a cluttered mind.
Yes. Yes. And
purging always has such negative connotations, but actually it's
well, and you know, it's very interesting that you said that. And purging is a great word, because with plant medicine, purging is a big deal. Purging is an you know, but people always go, oh, I don't know about the throwing up part. So when I went to Peru,
that's the whole point.
it's not only is the whole point, but what I experienced was it was an integral part of the whole experience. It wasn't I'm going to throw up and then I'm going to have this experience. It was the buildup of the experience. It was
the finale.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that that you used that word.
It's the aha moment, that you have the little aha moment, and then it's blah. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Exactly.
Funny.
All right. So carrying it on. So we got into the be, do, have, and I didn't get into the have part, because the have takes us from, so we were in creating, we set the stage for our beingness, because we're present and now, we're aligned, we're in beingness. That beingness and now inspires us to step into our desire, to step into what it is we're creating, to focus our energies and focus our alignment to movement in that direction, without needing to force or drive that movement in any way, shape, or form. And that's a very critical point to understand in this. You're not doing anything, you're being, and out of being, everything else occurs. So the creative.
I really love this, Jim. And can I just add something to this? Because can I use another analogy? So your list and your projects is one thing, but sometimes we have work to do, such as, I don't know, sweeping a porch, right? And to be able to apply intention, a pride and a focus and an intention and a calmness in doing that work is embodying the being in the same way, right? So there are some jobs that just people have to do, that we have to do, that aren't necessarily creative, right? They're not exciting, they're not but if we can apply an intention and a pride in what we're doing and a focus to it, then we have this good feeling around the good work that is being done, and that is needed to be done, because there is still an outcome that people will benefit from. And this is something that I learned actually quite recently by spending a day at a Rudolf Steiner school, you know, and this is how the teachers teach their children to play in a beautiful, intentional, calm way, is by doing work around them with a beautiful, calm intention. And the teachers intentionally don't spend a lot of time talking to each other. They don't get distracted with chit chat. Everything about them being there that day is all about the children, and they are teaching the children how to be by emulating that. And they won't stand in the front of a classroom and teach. It's almost like living in a home, an extension of your home, and the teachers will go about their tasks, and they will do it with such intention and calmness that the children pick up on that, and they bring that into their play. It's beautiful. You know how our children learn from what they see, right?
Absolutely.
You know, so if they see parents multitasking or people multitasking and having conversations, doing 10 things at once, they're not paying any particular focus or intention on any one thing that they're doing, and they're not putting any love into any one thing that they're doing. They're trying to do everything, and it's scattered, and that they sort of learn from that. That's how they start to go through life. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. Yeah, a really beautiful thing.
And to your point, I want to talk about that. I have to go to work. I have a job. I don't have the luxury. Let me explain to you how important this is. And how easy it is, because it doesn't matter if you're doing that, if you have a job or don't have a job. It doesn't matter what the activities you do are. If you have a job and you have time constraints listed within that job, you know, basically, if you've been working, what the lay of your land is. So you can, on any given day, you can create that list. This is what I got to get done today, without anything on priority. This is what I got to get done today. Now, if there are things that you're walking in at 8 o'clock and you have a deadline at 8:05, okay, that thing you're going to pay attention to, right? You're going to deal with that. But in the scheme of setting yourself up for success, if you're coming at it from beingness, you have the beingness set up, the alignment set up, you're aligning to self. You want to be the most effective person you can be. So you can still create that list, and you can still allow your day to flow in whatever way it needs to most satisfy you. And that will happen organically. And not only will you accomplish everything on your list, or everything that is possible to accomplish on your list, but you'll also be able to do more in less time, because you're not distracting yourself with judgment, frustration, craziness, I'm never going to make it, self-doubt, all the things we do to ourselves at work all day long about our inability to perform, because they're putting unrealistic expectations on what we're supposed to accomplish. So stop playing the game. I don't mean don't engage. Choose a different game to play with yourself that keeps you centered and grounded and engaged, so that you can do your job and then walk away when you're done and go, good, I accomplished. I'm going to go hug my kids. I'm going to go love on my, and I'm going to love what I'm doing now, because I'm not trying to fit my round peg into somebody's square hole. I'm using my round peg as effectively as I can to create a wonderful outcome. And that outcome is, I have these things to accomplish. I'm going to accomplish them. Let's let that unfold naturally, instead of me managing it, me controlling it, me needing to know every minute. I don't need to. I just want it done. That's my end. And that's the place I think that's important in focus. The end result is, I just want this done. I just want this list completed. I could care less how I get there from here. I just want it done. I just want to be able to feel satisfied that I've accomplished that. And so for me, that's I want to address that, only because I don't want the fact that I'm working a 9 to 5 to be an excuse for not having your stand in wellness, because it really doesn't work.
Because people are going to come back to the office that next day, and there will be another bunch of stuff to do. And just like you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and you're going to have another brain fart on a piece of paper.
Exactly right.
And there's going to be more to do, but it's
always
okay.
is.
We don't have to. Yeah.
But I don't have to stress
about
it.
That's right. That's a constant we can rely on.
Yes. And I had having done that. I'm sorry, this wasn't yesterday. This was the day no, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
This was yesterday morning. And no. It was the night before. So I'm sorry, I misspoke, because the experience that I had yesterday that I completely forgot to talk about. I even said this to Michael. It's like I had an entire day, and I left myself alone the entire day. Like, I wasn't up in my own crap all day long. Jim, you need to do this. Jim, you need to do that. Jim, you need to do this. I actually had a day of nothing. I literally just had a day of rest, which is what I was looking for the day before that I wasn't getting.
Right.
And then I did that. And the next day it was like the whole day. Nothing bothered me. Nothing annoyed me. Nothing got in my space. And so when I was going to bed last night, I embraced my list. I embraced my stuff and said, tomorrow is going to be so productive. I'm going to have such a wonderful day. I'm looking forward to this. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I'm excited, because I'm going to get to do things that are going to bring me satisfaction, and I'm excited about that. And so that's what the unfoldment has been. So it's been remarkable.
I think this is such a great takeaway from today's chat, to be honest. And yet people are going to go, what? Making a list? That's so simple, but yes, simple is good, isn't it?
Take it out of here and put it.
Remember to do it. To remember to do it daily, and allow yourself to purge, right? And then allow yourself that space and that freedom. I don't do it enough. So thanks, Jim. I'm going to go make a little purge
list.
My mind later.
All right. So moving on. So we've manifested. So now we've got this manifestation. And so for me, the top part of this pyramid now goes into a whole other stratosphere, because when you have aligned yourself to this point and you are now in full creator mode, and you're creating, and your energy is aligned, and the manifestations are happening, now the connecting is happening, because we're on a planet of 7.5 billion people, and we're here to co-create. And there are a lot of people, a lot of energies out there that are roaming around, and some of the stuff that I want to create is like stuff other people want to create, or there are people that I could be aligned with that'll take it to the next level, like Deb, that there's an alignment in my world. So now I'm connecting. Now I'm reaching out into my world and looking and connecting to all of it, whether it's the people, whether it's animals, whether it's food, whether it's whatever it is. I'm connecting because it's coming out of this desire to create. And that creation creates connection because we've got to connect to things in order for things to show up in the physical reality. So that connecting process, again, expands our energy and expands our focus. And so as we near the top of this, self-care comes into line. And you say, well, wait, I've slept, I've breathed, I've eaten. What is self-care about? Well, self-care is, what do I do every day that supports me in continuing to honor my breath, to manage my mind, to have restful sleep, to be in a space of creation when I wake up, to what do I do there? What are those things that I integrate every day, or things that I do every day, whether it's yoga, meditation, contemplation, mantras, whatever is your preference, whatever the thing is that shifts your state and keeps you in alignment and allows you to continue to focus on the foundational aspects while you continue to be in creation. So self-care is not a separate entity. It is an integral part of this sort of toroidal field of energy that's roaming around in our experience. That is, self-care is the lubricant. Self-care is the juice that keeps everything moving. It just, I'm infusing with breath, I'm quieting my mind, I'm being conscious, all those things. I'm eating well, I'm sleeping well, and I am loving myself. I'm appreciating my life, I'm appreciating my creations, I'm appreciating what I'm creating. And out of that,
beautiful. And it starts with prioritizing self, right?
Prioritizing self.
Prioritizing yourself. Because how many of us are often looking after others and putting others before ourselves?
And please, everybody, if you would like more on that topic, I literally just did that show on Wednesday, so you can check that out.
I want more on the manifesting and the connecting too. Yeah, like I said, I would just whiz through those. What? That's coming. Okay, good.
So at the top of the pyramid, we have transforming. So those top three pieces have now taken us to the next level in consciousness. The transforming is a process that happens as a result of continuing to spiral that energy up. And then, as I was talking about the toroidal field, it's coming back into itself, back through the breath, up through the mind, and it continues this wonderful circular experience. And it just gets bigger and greater and more powerful. So I want to take a second to show you what happens on the negative aspect of this process when we are not focusing. And we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but we're gonna cruise through it here, and then we'll show them together. But so at the bottom level, where your unconscious breath, meaning you don't think about it, you just breathe, you shallow breathing, mouth breathing, whatever it is. Just I don't pay attention to my breath, so that's that breath.
Not fully utilizing our lungs at all.
Not using the major energy that you have. So based on that, you're not refreshing your energy, you're not clearing, you're not purging. So what that creates is a restriction in the field. The field now, the mind is now more in control because the soul is not instigated by this flow of powerful transforming energy that you've created. So you're just basically
weaker life force.
What's that?
It's a weaker life force.
Weaker life force, yes.
Even.
So you got that unconscious breath that is leading to an intense focus, because when the mind is controlled, the mind is then going to use willpower and how to make you think that you are in control of your experience. And what do I mean by that? Well, it means that you focus all of your energy on how you're going to get to what you want instead of being what you want and allowing the inspiration to take you to what you want. So the howing, and again, guys, this model, people have been doing this forever. Most of the population does this model. We don't breathe.
Yeah.
We're willing ourselves into, I'm going to be a success. I'm going to be a this. I'm going to be a that. This is how I'm going to do it. This is
without feeling it.
And drilled and trained and drilled and trained and drilled. So now we're living in this willpower world, and when we go to bed at night, it's fraught with all of the thoughts and craziness of what we haven't done, what we need to do, how much we need to do, how poorly we did, how great we did. Maybe we had a good day, maybe we had a bad day, but everything is taken into the sleep state. And then you're going
Not doing
into
enough
sleep,
of it either. Not having enough of
it,
the sleep state.
and not respecting that it is a rejuvenating thing. So it's just another annoyance in your desire to willpower and how your way into your life. So now you sleep, you get up, you're not rested. The process is, the energy is low, or you found a way to drum your energy because you go and spend 2 hours beating yourself up in the gym to try to get your energy level to a good place. And so now you feel like you did that, and now I'm going to go do my work. And it's all very mental, and it's all very logical, and it's all very regimented, and I'm being a good person, and I'm getting my work, and I'm putting in my hours, and I'm making my money. And I hope you can hear as I'm doing this, that's the mind. It's just nonstop. So all of this out of balance condition leads to the top of this pyramid, which is consuming. And I call it consuming because it encompasses everything from food to sex to alcohol to drugs to people.
Stuff we don't need.
Stuff we don't need. We start consuming in a ridiculous fashion as a way to assuage all of the uncomfortableness we're feeling, as a way to soothe all of the out of balance experience that we're having.
Or justify it. Because we don't have a real because we don't have a real connection to it. So we figure, well, this must be it. I've worked so hard and done all this stuff so that I can have this stuff, because that's what it's all about, right? And because we're not really feeling it in any other way. We're not feeling satisfaction of doing the breathing and the sleeping and the resting and the integrating and the intentional work and creating.
Well, it's because the focus is on things. You brought a good point into the picture there, which is it becomes about the job, the car, the house, the restaurant. And it isn't that you can't enjoy all of those things. I enjoy all of them immensely, but but it isn't what drives my world. So when you're in that how and willpower place, it becomes about stuff and things instead of about self, capital S, self. So the consuming thing becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what you'll see here is I say, you can't get to. Notice there's a disconnect between consuming and connecting, because that's not where you are, and the energy won't allow that. You are not aligned to that new place. So what happens is there is a disconnect, and you feel that disconnect. We all feel it. When we're in this cycle, we can feel that. And that feeling doesn't feel good. And then we go, gosh, I don't know. And the breath gets less, but the energy cycles back down. And now you're back into the space of the body's looking for something. It wants rest. You're sitting on the couch. You think resting and watching TV is creating rest. And instead of the how and the willpower, now you've gone below that even over time to where you're into apathy, and I'm resisting what I need to do because I'm not comfortable and I don't feel like it or whatever, but it's a form of resistance. And now I'm sleeping less. It's fraught with anxiety. I wake up, I have anxiety. I don't feel good. I'm going to eat, I'm going to drink, and the cycle just continues. So that's the negative aspect of the cycle here. I'll flash them back up here both so you can see them together. One definitely leading to transformation, the other leading to not. They will all eventually lead there. But the point of it is that you miss the top three tiers because your vibration, your core vibration, your energy is not at a frequency that can connect at that level. That can connect in that space. So that's why that disconnect is there. So the other thing that's unfortunate about being in that cycle is that you literally can see it, you just can't reach it. You know it exists, but you just can't get there from here. And you don't know why, which creates another source of frustration that takes you right back down into the same cycle again. So take it back to the breath. Let's go back to breath. So we have had an amazing conversation, and I lost my glasses. Oh, we have to adjust a little because we love to dive in here, and we're having such a good time.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's been really enjoyable.
So we're going to, what do we have? Oh, we still have about 6 minutes left. So we're going to move on to this. So I hope everybody's grasping this model and the pieces of this. And I can probably actually put these diagrams in the notes, or at least links to them, so that if you're interested in having something visual that you can work with, you can do that.
So what's your plan, Jim, for the future podcasts? We're moving into the manifesting one next, is it?
With the wellness process?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can. You and I could definitely talk about that as far as. But I think the creation and manifestation process would be a great topic of how do we take that energy and how do we focus it and apply it. So as a foundational piece for this discussion about wellness, it's important to me that we just take 2 minutes to address the current health model, at least in the United States. It may be similar around the world, but I know in our country that our health model is based on illness. Allopathic medicine is the focus on disease. It is not a focus on wellness. So it's a compartmentalized experience. And Deb and I were talking briefly. There is some connectiveness that's happening a little bit in the medical field, and it's gotten better and better in my lifetime for sure. But ultimately, our current health models are about compartmentalization. This is wrong, we're going to treat this. This is wrong, we're going to treat this. This is instead of that holistic approach of, if this is not working, then there are other things within these systems that are also not working. This is not the cause, this is an effect. If our medical system had any inclination to include energy, they would stop everything they're doing now, because they would understand that what they're dealing with is effect. They're dealing with result. They're not dealing with cause. And this is really important, guys, as you're thinking about this wellness model and you're thinking about your own wellness. I'm not saying don't get help when you need it. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. I'm not saying don't, you got to do what you got to do when you're dealing with physical issues. What I'm trying to bring to your awareness is that our system isn't designed to support your wellness. You have to support your wellness. And then you have to make inspired decisions out of your alignment about what best serves your experience. So it isn't to me about either or. It's about, how do I find balance in this? If I break my arm, I want to go to a doctor who's going to wrap my arm in a cast and give me a little bit of pain meds for a day so I can get past what I created by breaking my arm. However that happened, whatever the deal is. Same thing with any other major disease. You have choices, and it may be that to ameliorate the instant effect, you may need to do something to give yourself some space so that you can bring yourself back to focus or start to focus on your wellness process. So again, as we talked from the beginning, it's not about judging anything. It's about looking at it realistically and saying, how is this helping? What do I have to work with? What do I have? How is my wellness going to be created? It is not going to be created in the current health model. It has to be created outside of that with you, and then utilizing it as you see fit based on your experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's all coming back to that individual's personal responsibility again, isn't it?
Again.
And putting yourself in an empowering place, because if you give yourself the chance, nobody knows your body better than you. It's your body.
Yep.
You're the one feeling everything and everything. You're the one fueling it. You're the one, with the breath and the food and the everything. You're the only one that knows all the other things in your life that are contributing to